Hello, everybody. Thanks for waiting. We are a little bit late, but let's just wait for one more minute to start so everybody get to join, and then we kick off. Thank you. Well, maybe we should kick off so we keep the timing. So welcome, everybody. My name is Kirsi Roine. I'm the leader of the EU-based things at Accelerating Circularity, and we are here to kick off the Polyester Post-Consumer program. And I wanted to start with some welcoming words to really get into the context. So if you are a brand at the moment and you are likely to feeling both there's an urgency to move towards recycled polyester and the responsibility also, and you need to get right into it. You're being asked to make decisions that affect sourcing, cost, quality, credibility, often without full visibility into how the textile recycling will actually work at scale. So that tension is completely understandable, and you're not alone in it. So we are all in the same boat. Polyester has been inherently kind of like a backbone of the industry. At the same time, the bottle-based rPET is reaching the limits in availability, in credibility, and increasingly in policy acceptance. And also, textile recycling is becoming a long-term pathway forward. So now, when we are all sitting here together, we have an opportunity to really address this challenge. And this challenge is about execution. So now, when we are kicking off this program, we are reducing the risk for the whole system, and we are achieving a systemic change by really making this work at scale. Today, we don't need to have the answers. That's why we are here. That's why we are sitting together. That's why we are starting this program. That's why we are trying to understand what works at scale, how we can be effective on sourcing, how we can be really relying on the supply. And that's how I want to see this program. And I welcome my colleagues to present the program itself, but welcome from my side. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Patricia Monino. I'm the EU Program Director, and my background is in environmental engineering, with my whole professional career focused on the impact mitigation generated by the textile industry. I will let my colleagues from the US introduce themselves, and then we can start with the presentation.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah Coulter. I'm the Americas Programs Director at Accelerating Circularity. My background is, prior to Accelerating Circularity, is in sustainable supply chains, specifically with voluntary sustainability standards, compliance, and credibility systems.
Hello, everyone. My name's Ellen Fry. I'm the Americas Project Specialist. I'm based in Philadelphia. Prior to my time at Accelerating Circularity, I've had extensive experience working on the brand side in fabric research and development. And thank you all for joining us today. And yeah, I'll pass it back to the Europe team.
Okay, so today's agenda is pretty easy. I will start presenting the program. Then my colleague Sarah will have a conversation with three members of the supply chains we are going to show you today. And after that, you will have the opportunity to ask some questions and clarify doubts before we close with key takeaways and next steps. So before we start, I want to remember everybody that this meeting is held under the Chatham House rule. Participants are free to use the information received, but neither the identity nor the affiliation of the speaker, nor that of any other participant may be revealed. Most of you know us already, but for the ones that don't, Accelerating Circularity is an action-oriented nonprofit. We center our work on textile-to-textile recycling at commercial scale, and we do it through a collaborative, stakeholder-led approach. We know that we need everybody on board to accomplish our mission, which is to build circular systems that turn used textiles into new raw materials. So our way to work is to connect all stakeholders to come into action together to achieve the transformation of the textile industry. And first, I would like to set the base for everybody and to be clear on what is the textile circular system. We can say in the textile sector that it will be the textile recycling supply chain. So we have one side, the recycling supply chain, and on the other side, the conventional textile supply chain. We have inside them the collectors, the sorters, the recyclers, and on the other side, the yarn spinners, the fabric mills, and the CMT and brands. And what we aim to do at Accelerating Circularity is to enable these connections and have all them together for the real transformation that we aim to have. Also, we can consider a circular system without having the brand, as some tier ones are the ones handling the sourcing and deciding on the fabrics, and brands selected and brands selected the fabrics from what the fabric mills have. Okay, this is the first question that has been launched. There will be some others, and we would like you to respond to them so we have a bit of information of who's behind the laptops. So I guess this question is pretty clear. What is the post-consumer program about? It's about enabling circular systems. We make the connection between brands and circular supply chains for the real adoption of T2T recycled materials into their collections. And what ACP does is to oversee the project. We act as your circularity managers. And the main benefit that you get is the real adoption of the circular system. So there's an opportunity for everybody to learn about the different stakeholders in the supply chain. We have follow-up meetings. We have different explanations and results discussion throughout all the process, and this is beneficial for everybody. So the recyclers learn the textile supply chain needs and vice versa. We learn from each other, we know each other, and we are able to stabilize a new supply chain with less risk, overseeing the whole process with expert support. We think this is a very practical way away from both bottle-based polyester. We have the access to a scalable textile-to-textile polyester and the opportunity to share MOQs to lower the commercial risk, also for maybe smaller brands. So the outcomes after the program are public report with the agreed share results. So we get to benefit the whole textile industry with our program and the outcomes of them. And then we also offer tailored brand level reporting and guidance. And we provide specific tips for every member to be able to really integrate the circular supply chains or new ones into their normal collections. Then we obtain confirmed circular polyester supply chain and textile to textile production trials. So the members of the program will need to commit to participate in these regular working meetings and assign key sustainability and sourcing contacts in order to be able to follow up with the program. And we need you to commit to 2-year program participation. And it is also like the final goal is to establish commercial scale production. We really encourage a commitment from the brand to have further production after the program with a selected supply chain. So we have tried to expand our locations from the last program we launched. We know that most polyester recyclers are based in Europe, and also we want to highlight our fabric mills and spinners. We know this year has been a struggle for the whole industry, and we will always try to support our manufacturers in Europe and the US. Also, we know that most of the production relies on Asia. So we have different options to try to reduce the distances between your current supply chain and the circular supply chain proposed in the program. So in this way, the adoption may be easier for you. And also the GHG emissions to transport are less significant, as well as the logistic cost and export issues which can happen are reduced. So I will present you now the supply chains one by one. We can, of course, tailor them to your needs, and you can go from pellets, filament, yarns, or fabric level. So first, we have 4 supply chains in Europe. We have as a spinner and fabric mill, we have selected Andex and Sampaio, because we know they have been working with us in prior trials, and we know that they have very successful outcomes, and they are very experienced in working with recycled polyester already. So we have counted with them, but it is up to you to go to pellet, yarn, or fabric level. Then we have 4 recyclers in Europe. Sorry. So the first one is based in Italy. This is Kempet with capacity of 500 tons per year, but next year they will get to 5,000 tons per year. So by the end of the programs, they will have full capacity as well as the rest. Then we have a supply chain based in Europe. This one is totally vertical, so there's the possibility to go throughout the same location and the and the same company in a way that you secure your traceability 100%. And they have a huge recycling capacity already, which is 36K tons per year. We have Cure that by the time of the end of the program will have also 25K tons per year, which is really, really good. And they are based in the Netherlands. And finally, for Europe, we have a thermomechanical recycler of polyester based in the UK and with a capacity of 3K tons per year. Then for Asia, we have Blocktex based in Australia, and they have an agreement with a spinner based in Indonesia, Asia Pacific Fibers. They have a huge capacity as well, and then you can go to the fabric mill of your choice. And finally, we have another thermomechanical recycler of polyester, Unify, with 20K tons per year's capacity. They are based in China as well as in North Carolina, and they can go until filament yarn level. And this is the second question that just popped up. And I can breathe. So these are our supply chains. As I said, you can tailor your supply chain according to your needs, and we can, of course, discuss about it. Then, to finalize from my side, I want to show you the timeline. We have been planning for the program to be achieved. So we will start now in January 2026 with a kickoff. We have already understand which are the capabilities of the supply chain, and they have their own feedstocks. We can, of course, provide collectors and sorters into the supply chain that are very well known for us members in order to provide with feedstock from a selected country in the case you need to comply with the PR legislation of a specific country. And also the recyclers can provide with their feedstock, ensuring that they they come from GRS certified supply chains. So the idea is from February 2026 to confirm the supply chain, to make some groups with the selected brands, and to have the agreement signature by the end of the month. And then by March, we can start looking for the development of the feedstock sourcing, the recycling, and the after testing and sampling, the productions. So we assume there can be delays. The supply chain from textile recycling value chains are complex, so we can estimate the final delivery and the final report by around Q3 of 2027. I'm going to stop talking and let my colleague Sarah have a quick talk with some of the members of the supply chain so you can know more about them. Thank you.
Thanks, Patri. Well, first, I'd like to say thank you all for joining us today. And thank you so much to the supply chain members who've come to share their expertise with us today. I'd like to kick it off by having you introduce yourselves, and I'll just ask you in the order that I see you on my screen. So Hector Del Arco from Unify, would you please let us know what you do at Unify and a little bit about what Unify does?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, for your introduction. And thank you, Accelerating Circularity, for inviting us to be part in this webinar as a panelist. I'm taking care of brand sales I've been working in Unify for the last 5 years. Unify, it's a polyester producer established in the 70s, starting first as a virgin polyester producer. And we evolved into the recycling business in 2006, first with the bottle-based polyester. And since 2022, we started the textile-to-textile business as well. I'm taking care of the brand sales in South Europe, basically Spain, Portugal, and Italy, and doing also some direct sales to mills around this region. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hector. Josse Kunst from Cure, welcome.
Yes, thank you, Sarah. Good afternoon, everybody. And like Hector said, really pleased with the invitation from Accelerating Circularity. Great work to bring everybody together, and we are pleased to be here. Cure Technology is based in the Netherlands, and we are part of a larger group of shareholders that is very active since the 90s, in fact, with mechanical recycling, established with plants in the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, and Poland. Polyester, predominantly. And based on that, we're now scaling up also the chemical recycling and expecting within the time frame of this project to go to at least a plant in Europe for 25 kiloton, but most likely also a plant somewhat closer to the supply chain in Asia, maybe very soon after the end of the project. That's at least the target. And pleased to be here. I'm Josse Kunst, acting as Chief Commercial Officer for Cure Technology and also shareholder of the company.
Thanks, Josse. Murat Arios from Kipash.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again inviting us to this webinar. It's always for us a nice platform to share our, what we do as a company. So this is Murat Arios. I am the UK sales director of the company, but I have been working for the company for 20 years. So the last 7 years, I have been handling the global sales out of UK, and as well as I'm very much involved in all our sustainability projects and working closely with the universities as well. Like we do some case studies with Cambridge, Westminster University, and Marangoni in the sustainability line. So we are covering as Patricia mentioned, we are a fully vertical company, recycling, spinning, producing fabrics, and as well as garments out of Turkey. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you all so much for being with us today. And I think to kick things off, it'd be great to talk about, you all mentioned things having to do with approaches to scale. And so when we talk about scale in polyester recycling, a lot of times at the supply chain level, we're talking about, what is our, capacity in terms of tonnage. But for brands and mills, they're, I think, oftentimes thinking about it in other terms, like what is the predictable volume that I can get to, stable, qualities and competitive pricing and lead times and things like that. That's something that we've learned in the course of the last 6 years working on our post-consumer programs. And that's what we're, sort of trying to get to in this program that we're kicking off today. Can you talk about what scaled means in your operations in terms of, consistent volumes, repeatability, consistent quality, and how have those things evolved over the past few years in your operations?
And who would you like to answer that first?
Well, you're off mic, so why don't you go? Yes.
Very good. Now, for us, it means that, recycling is, in the way we see it, is the art of every day getting other feedback and still making a consistent end product at the end. So yes, scale is one part. It's trucks, it's silos, it's large volume, but it also means we need to do this currently in a food safety environment for packaging. So complying with all the regulations, which are a lot more stringent than in most of the textile applications, but also doing this across sites, as I mentioned, in Poland, Germany, Belgium, and Holland. So being consistent and being able to supply from different locations. So it's not R&D, it's not just scale, it's not just technology, but it's also being able to have a crew that can do that every day. And that's in fact where the know-how and the consistency comes in. We pride ourselves to be able to supply the larger brands for food safety, packaging, the Coca-Colas of this world. And we're looking forward to expand that level of consistency and quality to the textile industry as well.
That's such an interesting point. And I know that, Unify also has a lot of experience in recycling with packaging. How does that translate to textile to textile?
Well, in our case, what I can talk more about is textile application, not so much about packaging, which is mainly dealt through the US. But if we talk about textile, we are at scale already. For us, being at a scale means that all our circular products made from textile waste are already available globally. And they run through our system with the same consistency and repeatability as any of our virgin or bottle-based polyester. Our tape-up program, as I said before, is commercial since 2022. And today we produce both filament and staple, either white dyeable or dope dyed black. Under the program, we also have our thermal loop insulation solution, which is a filling for outerwear, also at a scale. And in terms of volumes, what it's been mentioned at the beginning, we do about 30,000 tons, between 20 to 30,000 tons, but it's a flexible model that could be easily adapted to the needs of brands. So basically, when we say we are at a scale, it means global availability, strong capacity, and reliable repeatability. So all already in place today. In terms of packaging, I know we do some things as well from the US, but it's been done since long. The textile program is more recent because it was not that easy, and also because we were missing the demand at that time. With packaging, it was a bit different and somewhat easier. I don't say that it's easier, it's easy packaging, but not so picky as textile applications.
Thanks for that, Murat. I'm interested to hear your perspective.
Yeah, as Hector mentioned, also we are in a scale production base. So Kipash has started the recycle process 2017 with the mechanical recycling, and the last year with the chemical recycling in polyester with a huge capacity as industrial. So in the market today, there are players producing recycled polyester from 100% polyester and pre-consumer recycled using thermochemical recycling and some or molecular routes. But in Kipaş, with the Fibre technology and with the partnership that we did together with Meltem Chemical, we are capable of producing textile to textile recycled daily 100 tons as an industrial scale, so which is in the molecular level of recycling instead of thermomechanical recycling. So we go down to the molecular level with the help of glycolysis process, and then with the polymerization afterwards, we reach to the virgin polyester level. So thanks to the new investment and the collaboration with Kipaş Fibre, we are producing in scale operation basis. So
that's great. Well, you mentioned something that I want to dig a little bit more deeply into, and that is sort of the virgin equivalent. So we in our work every day, hear still a lot of hesitance around adopting recycled materials because of questions around price and performance. And I'm interested to hear both around, how does scale impact, questions around price, what is the runway sort of to approaching competitiveness around price? And then, when we're working with textile to textile rPET, how does performance compare to virgin when we get into, knitting, dyeing, and finished fabric? I know it's two really big questions. Feel free to answer either one.
Shall I start, Sarah, on that one?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
maybe on your first question on performance. In fact, the textile industry has already made quite a big shift in sourcing in the past by moving to PET bottles. And if you look at polyester from PET bottles, there's actually a considerable amount of IPA, isophthalic acid, in bottle flakes. So there is actually a much bigger variation in the polyester than when you move from PET from textiles. So in fact, the easiest answer I can give you is that we've done garment testing all the way with wear trials with major brands, and they could not distinguish in blind tests which one were made by Cure polyester and which one were made by virgin. So in that sense, that gives us a lot of confidence that we can reach the same quality. We do that, by the way, we always say it's not virgin quality because we don't have the carbon footprint of virgin. So there's clearly a difference in the positioning of our product versus virgin. Cost-wise, that's of course an important question. If you look in the end, the cost of recycling is predominantly the cost of energy and labor. So it depends a bit where we will build our factory. Also, there will be a difference in the technologies and the capabilities that they have. What we see is that the first plant may have still some growth curve to go through. From plant 2 and 3, it definitely should be price competitive with what the market expects. And that's also what we see in the packaging world, where we already have allocations for volume out of our factory. So I feel if large packaging brands accept the price and performance, there will also be a place where we can position this towards the textile market.
That's great to hear. That's really exciting. Hector, it looks like you
wanted. Do you want me to go next? Okay. Well, let me start by the price, which is probably the toughest one. Let's be direct. In our opinion, T2T is not going to match our virgin pricing. Virgin polyester has had more than 50 years to become extremely efficient, and it starts from a very clean and uniform feedstock. On the contrary, when we talk about T2T, the textile waste is much more complex, and basically it runs it simply adds cost to the process. Of course, a scale definitely will help. It will remove friction, it will improve efficiency, but it will not eliminate the price gap, the structural price gap against virgin. So we think that T2T will get better, but it won't get cheaper than virgin or even same as virgin. And sincerely, anyone claiming the opposite, there should be a lot of questioning around that. Then, regarding performance, in our system, it performs exactly the same. Kneading, dyeing, finishing, no meaningful differences. And our process is not chemical, it's thermomechanical. But even thermomechanical can control the quality, same as bottle-based. And the only thing we've noticed, and we have to be sincere on that as well, is that the raw white shade is slightly creamier than the bottle-based. But once you dye it, there is no difference at all. I mean, in terms of performance, the dyeing result will be exactly the same.
Fantastic. Murat, having worked with both technologies, I'm interested to hear your insights on that.
Exactly. I mean, when we come to the pricing, maybe I'm going to repeat what Hector said. Basically, due to the processes and how you handle this doesn't allow you right now, like same pricing as virgin. But what we believe, this is why we did the investment as well. In industrial scale, bring cost predictably, and commercial stability will be there, and particularly for medium to high volume applications will help to reduce. But also, as a company, what we believe, especially brands, when brands also factor in regulation, recycled content, targets, and long-term supply security, then this will become a choice, and then price will be discussed less. So the targets needs to be there. As Fibre, we don't have any like quality issues as we go to the molecular level. So we reach to the virgin level of polyester, and then as we create from there. The best part of our investment is there is no life cycle, so you can recycle and recycle every single time. So when it comes from rPET, from bottles, as there is a limited life cycle in that, so every single production reduces the quality. This is why we did this collaboration. We go to the chemical level, to the molecular level, so where we polymerize and then produce with the help of the thermochemical process. Either we do staple or filament polyester. This is basically bringing us to the as a cost level wise, like within industrial scale help. It will in the future, we believe in like having like better costs and trying to achieve the virgin levels. But of course, price wise, there's always a difference.
Thank you so much. We have just a couple of minutes left in our time for the panel, but I'd like to have each of you close maybe with a thought about the idea of sort of closed loop, because we get questions from brands a lot about the desire to recycle their own waste and sort of take it back into their own product. What are you actually doing in terms of brand, own brand recycling back into product? What do you want to take now? Is that a thing that you are interested in? What are the non-negotiables for this kind of program in terms of sorting, composition, traceability, et cetera? And what do brands need to understand before trying this kind of project?
Well, maybe let me also start, or yeah, Murat, do you want to start? Go ahead.
Yeah, when she said brands, as a company, we work very close with the brands, and we try to do, especially as a role in the company, I try to do those kind of projects a lot with the brands. We started already with mechanical recycling, like we did projects with Urban Outfitters, Tommy Hilfiger, Tom Taylor in Europe. Now we are very much working on polyester chemical recycling. So in our technology, I forgot to mention what we offer to the brands. Over 70% polyester content textile product, we are capable of recycling it without removing any accessories, any buttons, or with the existing garment, with the content of over 70% polyester, we are capable of recycling it with our new chemical recycling technology. So this is the key point that we are discussing with the brands and trying to collect their post-consumer recycled polyester textile products and recycle them and use in their fabrics, and then bring it to their garment supplier, or we supply the garment as well. So trying to close the loop and create that project together with them. So this is why, sorry, I mean, I just want to jump in and explain this. And also giving the traceability, which is very important. So as a recycler, spinner, and a fabric producer, we give the full traceability, and also right now working on using tracer in our production, where we can easily give the full visibility to the brand.
That's really important. Yosa, you wanted to?
Yeah, let's build on what Murat says. I think what he says is very clear. Practical, it's of course that you do need to think about how you run a factory, what are logical volumes, and does it make sense? But we are always engaging with the industry to see, can we go back to their own products?
Mm-hmm.
However, sometimes we get questions and people come with literally their personal car with a handful of bags of clothing, and can we get it back into that volume? No, that's not possible. So in the end, of course, it's a discussion around what is the quality. We have a dashboard, what we can and cannot accept, and what does it mean in terms of our factory. Full traceability is normal. That's also needed for food safety. And we are very excited if people are looking at, can we get our own waste back into our own products, because that shows you want to carry the responsibility all the way through the whole ecosystem of your supply chain, which is fantastic. But it requires volume to make that economic. But we can do that, and we are open to that. We're even open to what we call toll conversion, because it could help us a lot in reducing the risk of sourcing feedstock and in the sales process. And then only the cost of the recycling has to be covered, and in fact the brands stay owner of their own material. That's a process that in packaging is pretty common, and we are open to explore that also for textile. But again, volume is then needed.
So the volume, coming back to scale, it's all about the scale.
Yeah, so not just at our end, but also in those initiatives. So we would love to engage with brands that are willing to go through the journey. It will not be day one, everything ready, but together, that is the aspiration where we are and where we want to go to.
Thanks for that. And Hector, any closing thoughts to round out this section?
I agree with Joas about the minimum quantity, because quite often you talk to brands. Brands have nice ideas about reusing their waste, either post-industrial or post-consumer, what they collect from through their stores, but the volumes are not big enough. And in our industrial processes, for example, in our case, the minimum batch is about 60 tons, and the minimum content within those 60 tons of textile waste should be not less than 36. 36 tons of waste of polyester is a lot. And so what I would say is it's a nice story to have, but it is much more complex than it sounds. And in our case, and when the collection happens in Europe and the production is in Asia, just moving the waste across borders can be really difficult because of this distance between one site and the other. I mean, we have to take that into consideration. That's why we often suggest to brands to start first with their own production waste, with the post-industrial waste, because that is known, it's easy to sort, it's ready for recycling, and we can support them through our Textile Take Back program. Post-consumer, it's a nice goal to have, but the reality is that sorting and preparation systems are not ready yet. And the demonstration is, we have it here in Europe, in Germany, UK, Netherlands, Sweden. The sorters are struggling to sell their feedstock. There's a feedstock already sorted. And even in France, which is the only country in Europe with an EPR system already operating, they are struggling to cover the sorting cost. So our suggestion, let's go easy first with the post-industrial. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been a great conversation and really illustrates that you're operating at scale, proven performance, and that getting these systems to work really requires collaboration and partnership with brands and others in the supply chain to really overcome these humps, like you were just talking about, with moving things across the border and the hurdles around sorting. So I really appreciate the insights that you've shared with us today, and I'm going to kick it back to Patri to move us to the next section. Thank you again so much.
Okay, so now it's time for you to ask your questions, and I think, Ellen, we have one question in the box Q&A, right?
Yes, we've got one question from Andrea at Circulatom. The question is about T2T recycling for rPET and accepting polyester and elastane blends, as a majority of textile waste has elastane within it. So if one of the recyclers wants to talk about how we're processing elastane blends in feedstock and recycling.
Yeah, I can comment on that. We have a technology by which we can remove elastane from blends and then, in fact, isolate the elastane. And we work together with polyurethane recyclers who then upgrade that part as well. Because if that would become waste, that would be a shame. That will not be in the first scale during this program, but we have that at a pilot scale and scaling that up so we can demonstrate and prove that and bring that to the market as soon as that volume is there. Ultimately, when you design clothing, do look if you really need the elastane, because even though we are having technologies where you can remove it, it's not ideal from a cost point of view, and it will also add additional carbon footprint, of course. But it can be done. It is possible.
Thank you.
I can add on top of it is Kipash. When I mentioned textile product over 70% polyester and up to 7% elastan fabrics, we are able to recycle with the help of our technology, which I would like to mention also. I forgot to tell the elastan part.
In our case, our tolerance is much smaller. only about 1% of elastane could be accepted in our thermomechanical process, because basically it works the same as with bottle base. What comes in comes out, which it's an advantage because the process is more simple, less impact environmentally, but at the same time we have some limitations. One of them is the blends, even elastane.
Thank you, Hector. Don't be shy. We've got a little bit more time for questions, so feel free to drop them in.
However, you can just reach to us to really clarify on the questions you may have, on everything you would like to discuss with us. So as I don't see any more, oh yeah, there's one.
Patrick, do we have time for one more question, or do we need to move
Yeah,
on?
we do.
Okay, we've got a question here from Lisa around cost expectations for recycled versus virgin poly from a sourcing standpoint. On average, what is the conversational cost differential for a finished garment? How are mainstream brands obtaining approval from their leadership on higher AUC? Does anyone feel like they can answer that one?
So she means what's the price upcharge of T2T compared to virgin right now?
Lisa, feel free to come off mic and clarify. I mean, on mic, you know what I mean, off mute.
Or drop it in the chat too.
Oh,
Sorry, that's how long it took me to come off mute. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So my question, having been involved in sourcing for global brands for a long time in my past life, is if I'm a mainstream brand, my leadership team, my head merchants, they really just want to know what is the impact to AUC, and obviously, there's a lot of questions as to whether, how, the consumer is willing to absorb, a small cost increase because the brand can really authentically talk about the fact that they're doing the right thing. But it's hard, right? It's hard to get past that barrier when a company is looking to make sure that they're meeting, aggregated costing targets for performance from quarter to quarter. So I'm just curious if you've experienced mainstream brands successfully navigating that and just saying, this is what we're doing going forward. Just curious for anybody's perspective.
It's a very interesting question, but to answer it, it can become very complex. And one of the reasons is, of course, that how many kilos or grams of polyester is in that specific garment you're looking at. But if you would calculate with, let's say, a conversational price difference of, let's say, in the initial phases, 10-15%, then you talk about cents in a garment in the end of material cost. The interesting thing is, how do those initial slightly higher polyester costs translate all the way down the chain? Because everybody translates that into percentages, which is in fact not necessary because downstream processing costs are equal. So I think the opportunity is there to reduce it to something that the consumers don't even need to notice. The question is if the current supply chain is organized to deliver that. I think that's a discussion, and I see in Europe at least EPR schemes are trying to solve that by taking away some of the initial higher cost all the way at the front, so that further downstream you don't have that translation of higher costs going through. I just calculated for a typical T-shirt. In our case, it would be about 6 cents extra in terms of material cost. I'm not sure if the consumer needs to know that, and I think the marketing value of being able to say that it's 100% textile related as a feedstock is worth that 6 cents.
Thank you very much. That's helpful.
Thanks, Jose. I need to just finish. We have 2 minutes left. So I will keep the last question because I have information about it. It is about the timeline. But first, I will like to highlight 3 takeaways. So the program, it's a collectively learn option. We learn across multiple supply chains and collectively. We reduce the impact. We establish circular value chains that reduce emissions, and we use the resources in a smart way and prepare for upcoming regulation. And we minimize the risk by working collaboratively. Sorry. So next steps, and this was a question, it's that we will open an expression of interest period by early February. And you can ask us for one-to-one follow-up meetings. We will also reach out to you in case you're interested. And we will do a grouping of the supply chains and the brands after the confirmation. So the idea is to have the agreement signed by the end of February. However, we understand that this is a difficult decision, and there's a lot of levels that you need to go to come up to confirmation. So we will be flexible. This is our wishes that we can start but by 1st of March with the program. So we let the rest of January and February to reflect and to come to us. You can also talk to the supply chain if needed. But yeah, I need you to contact to us because we don't have any more time. Thanks, everybody. It has been a great webinar. And if you want to join, just reach me out through my email or wherever of the colleagues present in our webinar. Thank you so much also for the panelists.
Thank
Have
you.
a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Have a great day. Thank you.